Welcome back, guys. I have got a proper little rarity here for you today. So you might be saying to yourself, that looks a hell of a lot like a Premier Mini. Well, it is a Premier Mini. This is the very first Premier Mini. Way back when Premier Products used to produce all their machines under the Vanguard name. So this is a Vanguard Mini. They dropped the Vanguard name in about 1979, 1980, I believe. I'm not going to go too much into the history of the Premier Products company. There's another video on the channel where I kind of describe a bit more about the history of Premier Products and the Premier Mini. But for the regular visitors to the channel, you'll know how much I love these machines. They're absolutely fantastic. I've got a small army of them that I use quite extensively at work, and they're absolutely bulletproof. They just go on and on for decades. But before Henrys were a thing over here, Premier Minis were absolutely everywhere. Every public building you went to, every sort of commercial environment, you'd probably see a Premier Mini, to be honest, when I was growing up. So, could be why I love them so much. But anyway, here is a Vanguard Mini, the very first. So, there's a few differences, namely the colour scheme. I quite like it. I think it looks like a piece of military equipment or something like that, especially that number 7 printed at the bottom. I'm guessing this one was part of a fleet at some point, so that's probably its number. But obviously later on, they went to the classic green and chrome colour scheme that's a bit more popular. The other big difference is the switch. So the later ones are quite famous for their on-off pedal. This one hasn't got that. This one's got something a little bit different. So it took me a while to suss out where the switch actually was on this, because it's not visible anywhere. So it wasn't until I took the machine apart I realised the switch is actually built into the front caster. And the idea was you give it a firm whack on top like this, and you can see exactly why they dropped it in favour of the pedal. I'll try that again. So the idea is you give it a firm whack on top, and that turns the machine on and off. I can understand where they were going with it, but in practice it doesn't always work first time. So this poor old thing's got a few dents on top where I think frustrated users giving it a bit of a kick, and I can understand that. The pedal was a much better idea, but yeah, interesting either way. So that's that. Everything else is pretty much the same. Interestingly enough, the motor is a pneumatic motor, and it was dated 1976. I know several sort of manufacturers were supplied by pneumatic, Kerstar being one of them. You'll often find early Kerstars with pneumatic motors in. So obviously I'm pretty sure this one's original, the dates match up. So yeah, this one has a pneumatic motor, strangely enough. Later on they got Amatec Lamb motors, which they had pretty much to the end. But apart from that, got the standard filter. Handle's quite interesting. That's straight off a cupboard door. Again, they changed that later on to a slightly different plastic style. They had the fixed metal cord hooks for quite some time until they were replaced by a completely different handle design, which incorporated the hooks in about 1983. The toolkit is off a slightly later Mini from the late 70s. Quite possibly what this machine would have come with. I'm fairly sure it's pretty much identical to what it would have had. But there we go. That is one very early Premier Mini. I can't believe I've actually got one. Like I say, it's had a bit of a hard life. It's a bit patinaed. But just the mere fact I've got one, I'm happy with that. I'm over the moon with it. And it's a really nice little addition to the fleet. I think I've pretty much got every incarnation of the Mini from the very first now, right up until the very latest ones. So there we go. That is a 1976 Vanguard, or Premier, Mini in all its glory. So let's give it a go. Oh, before I go as well, you've probably noticed, been a bit of a change in the living room. I've finally got carpet, which is possibly going to change the dynamic of my videos a bit. But yeah, without further ado, let's give the Vanguard Mini a little go. Just while I've got it out, just wanted to have a little chat about this floor tool as well, because this is quite interesting. So on the face of it, it's very similar to a old style Electrolux flip over floor tool. And that you've got your main base plate there for your regular carpet cleaning, then you flip it over, and this section here on top concentrates the suction to deal with sort of difficult threads and fluff and stuff like that. Then you've got your buttons here for lowering the brushes for hard floors. It's also got this additional little dial, and basically what you can do, you can vary how low or high the brushes go. So if you want to, you can have the brushes just so they're skimming the top of the carpet, and it gives like a groomed effect, which I thought was quite clever. I know these tools were supplied by, I think, Holland Electro, so some of their machines had identical tools. If you do a search for Holland Electro Top E or some of the cylinder machines they made, they've got identical tools to this. So I'm guessing that's where Vanguard were getting their tools from, and obviously getting their motors from Pneumatic at the time. But I just thought I'd mention that because it's quite an interesting design.